One. Hi, my name's Leo Bonomo. I've got a lovely lady, Laura Ballet, here, and as you can see from the screens behind her, she's written a wonderful book called The Science of Empowerment. I do apologise for that, and it's a book that is already beginning to sort of break boundaries. It's a new book, and it's something that you know, people will get excited about. So, hi, Laura, how are you?
Hi, Leo. I'm fabulous. Thank you. It's so cool to meet you. I'm excited. We got to talk a little bit before the recording. So I just think you're amazing, your energy. So I'm so happy to be here with you.
Oh, bless you. Now, there's been lots of books written about the science of empowerment and different ways of going about it. But I do feel that, like, you know, the vibrational energy that we're all surrounded by, it is something that needs upgrading all the time. You know, you can't just sit still and go, well, you know, that book was written in 1752 and it'll do. So tell us about your book, how you came to write it, and what for you makes it different to other books.
Yes. So very quickly, I always give an acknowledgement out to my brother. Chris Brennan was the creator and the founder behind the Jekyll Principles. And that was the inspiration to this book. So there's 5 principles, 3 fields of energy. And we created this formula called the J3 equals E. And pretty much through every experience, every encounter, if you apply the 5 principles and you remind yourself and connect to the knowing that you are in the power seat of choice of energy, negative, positive, or neutral, it absolutely fundamentally changes the way you move through life. All the drama, all the chaos, all the patterns, all the negativity, all the unnecessary behaviors, they will begin to dissolve when you read The Science of Empowerment. And I decided to write this book, not so much sharing like all my own vulnerabilities and going into all of my stories, just to come out with a real thinking person's book. Something that begins to seed the brain and the mind with the chemistry and the alchemy of the consciousness and the body, and really try to weave this whole educational process of how brilliant we really are. And I feel that, like the mass population, we forget that we are made up of some of the elements that are in the actual universe. Like the stars, right? We're
Yeah.
made up of this incredible movement, this power. And I see people every day getting depressed, getting sad, getting mired down in what I just call a lot of unnecessary minutia. And I wanted to write a book that just sparked this knowing. I really believe we have ancient like knowledge coded in our DNA. And it's just a matter of understanding that our time here in the physical body is about rediscovering what we know. We've just forgotten it. And in my own way, I wanted to add a little value into the human condition. And this is the way that I've done it.
I think sorry, I think that's great, because it comes up fairly frequently, but in recent radio shows, you know, the subject has come up where we've been discussing the fact that Neanderthal man, early man, we knew what plants were right, we knew what herbs to mix, everything was instinctive. There was that what we called the gut reaction, you know, this is right or this isn't, even to the finite world of so much of this plant and a touch of that, and the whole mix. And it is a very, very instinctive thing. And one of the things that came out of that was that with the Industrial Revolution and that pickup, it took away a lot of our instinctiveness. It is beginning to subside now, and I think that you know, from that aspect, the book is extremely important. It reminds us of who we used to be. And we've got that shift in vibration as well, haven't we? With so many, I do hate that phrase to wake up or woke, because it's got such a twisted element to it now. But we are awakening and understanding more of ourselves. So I think the book, you know, the timing of the book, I think is absolutely perfect. There are some elements there that you've spoken about of you know, positive, neutral and negative. And what came to me was there seemed to be elements there of manifestation. Is that something that you feel is a really important element to the book?
Yes, and it's more of manifestation of awareness, not so much say like, you know, the power of the law of attraction and the power of manifestation in that way. It really is about learning how to recalibrate the way you think about thought. Thought has such an energy vibration to it, right? That frequency. We know that if we say hello or if we say hi, there's a difference there. And we end up becoming this collection of vibrations, and we become this from the messaging systems, right?
Yeah.
Our parents, our grandparents, our church, our politicians, all of it. What music we listen to, what movies we watch, and we don't realize that everything has a frequency, and we become this collaboration of it. And part of, for me, the beauty of the science of empowerment, again, it is to bring this awareness to you are in command of your life. No one has to tell you who to be and how to be. I don't need someone to tell me to be kind and compassionate to a human being, right? But that's a huge message coming out now. And now they're trying to tell us how to be kind, how to be compassionate. I believe if we have the ability to take a moment and read something, and I'll use that as the book for an example, to read something to remind us that we are in command, not in control, but in command of how we resonate every moment of every day. And the manifestation of that comes from the way we think, right? Because if we don't think about manifesting health, manifesting rest, manifesting wealth, and that could be wealth of many different, you know, ways. If we don't think it, how can we manifest it? How can we become it? I really believe the power of thought has been lost on the mass population.
I think you're right, and I can't remember whether it was Plato or someone from the early Greeks, but it may my guide's saying Shakespeare. It could be Shakespeare, but there's that phrase, isn't there? I think, therefore I am. And when you were speaking about all these different little dilutions and that, I was just getting images myself of, you know, water perhaps, and then there's a tiny little drop of red, and then there's green, and and it is, there is this mixture of dilution and clashing energies, and it's like we're a fuzzball. You know, there's just so much going in that's, you know, I can imagine the atoms hitting off each other, and some of it's destructive and that. So to me, and hopefully to the viewers, it's given a real image of all this clashing stuff that needs order.
Yeah, and we don't understand, we're not necessarily raised to be energy beings, right? We're just raised to be doing. You know, not many of us don't have that upbringing where your parents or your guardians, however our family structure may have been, where the expansion of thought, the expansion of consciousness, that we are to connect to something beyond ourselves. It's the way I don't want to say should be or supposed to be, but yet it is. We are not meant to be dumbed down. We are not meant to be herded into someone else's idea of what it should be. We are meant to connect with one another, to grow, to evolve, to expand. And, if someone said, this is your landscape, and that is it, that's what you would become, right?
Yeah.
We need someone to say, this is your landscape. There's no closure to it. It is open, and you are free to explore and create and design your life to its fullest potential. And I get really quite sad and heavy-hearted when I meet people around the world, and even in our local business that we have, and they feel so limited. They get stuck, and they partner with this stagnation as if they have no way out. And part of the reason too that I wrote the book, we have a neuromuscular training facility. My brother Chris was a USA Olympic gymnastics coach. So we've been in the mindset business for decades, and we have clients that we teach mindset as a skill set before we execute physical skills. And everybody would be like, you need to write this down. Somehow you need to get this out, because no one ever told me I was living potential. I was living expansion until they started talking to us. And until like now with the book, no one ever thinks, I'm limitless. We hear it, but we don't believe it, and we don't explore it, let alone manifest it. And I really want to tap into that. I want to seed the brain of the listening audience with that thought that you are in the power seat and you are living potential, real-time power in motion to create everything that will bring you deep happiness.
I think you're absolutely right, and I know from my school and things that I've learned since I left school. At school, we get fooled by such phrases as "you're going to learn," because to me, a lot of it is no, we're going to condition. We want a particular person and section of the population, and we want order according to us. So I think a lot of it has been conditioning. And to an extent, I can see that the world needs order. But of course, the people that try and order the world, they're in that position because they want it their way.
Yeah.
So I can understand that quite a bit of this is in a sense dangerous to them, but because people are opening up now, they're accepting that, I don't have to do this, and I don't have to do that, and at the risk of kind of bringing COVID and that into it, again, there's order. You will do this and that, and throughout the world, you're seeing that backlash. And I'm not saying that I agree with the violence or anything like that, but people are saying, what you're saying. No, we're not having it. We are not accepting of those constraints, which are getting tighter and tighter and tighter. I read a book. I'm being reminded. It must be 25 years ago, and it was talking about the way of the world in the next 30 years. And one of the precepts in one of the sections was that the mind is so powerful. There's more or less 90% of it we don't know what it does. And it was saying that we can not cure every illness, but we can cure illness. We can do this. We can manufacture with our minds order in a sense that our own personal paths would allow. And that book, I've never seen it again. It was quite expensive when I bought it, but it was talking about the power of the mind. And I think as we've moved in and vibration shifted and we are coming into our own, I think the timing of the book is fantastic. That it's for those, it's again, it's making people aware we have choices, and I think that's great.
And the really unique thing too is there's such this cool formula in the book that I was speaking to a woman very high up in corporate development and trying to figure out how to break that barrier. So all of, the corporations in the world are not, again, so the framework is so strict and there's just no room for personal contribution. And I was going over the 5 principles with her really quickly and choosing the neutral to positive energy. And the minute you do that, as I said, it absolutely recalibrates the situations. So even in our homes right now, where everyone's been inside, kids are homeschooled, partnerships, whatever the family unit looks like, it has flipped people inside out, the stresses. And I have clients that have applied the J3 formula, and it absolutely changes. And that's what I love about the book. You can take many things from it, but if nothing else, you grab onto those principles. You understand that you can choose reaction or response in a negative or a positive way. When you understand that you were born, it is your birthright to choose to be a neutral frequency and a positive frequency, you start to almost, in a way, be forced to take accountability to your own awareness and your own place within this global family. And that's really what I was trying to convey in the writing of it. No more excuses, no more blame, no more judgment. We are individually one.
Yeah.
We are.
Uh, and something that's come to me, which has been more popular over the last few decades, really, that if you're number one, that's what counts. If you're second or third, don't bother, don't turn up. And of course, there can only be one number one, but what's impressed on us is that if you can't do that by hook or by crook,
Right.
forget it.
Right.
And that in itself is such a sad thing. When I was growing up, people were encouraged, well, you didn't win today, keep on.
Right.
Competition is a good thing. We've kind of been told that no, it's not. You've got to be bland and stick to the rules. And we are competitive by nature, and that's how we achieve stuff, isn't it? Whether it's finding a new formula or the new book, or finding a new cure. That's what brings the world on. And yet what's been happening is the complete opposite. Just blend in, be dull.
No, yeah, that hurts my soul. We
Mm,
are not meant to blend in. We are created to have compassion and empathy
mm,
and find unity through laughter or education or, just having a beautiful time with others. But we all need to be our individual, beautiful, powerful self. Can you imagine going into a classroom of, 7-year-old kids and conditioning them to dress the same, talk the same, think the same, giving them information that doesn't allow for them to be self-actualized thinking human beings? I just, I don't understand that. And that's what's happening. I want to remind everyone again, it is our birthright to be unique. We want to stand out and be different. It doesn't matter what that looks like. It just is a right for us to not have to think and eat and sleep and shower and move exactly like every other person. We're human beings and we have this amazing computer built into this body. to input data and move it around and then output data. Why would we choose to not have every human being taking things in their own unique way, right? Moving them around, becoming the architecture of thought, and then putting it out to better the globe. It just doesn't make any sense to me to be any other way.
And again, I think you're right. You know, my mind's going back to when I was at school. Competition was fun. You know,
Yeah.
yes, you did kind of laugh in an encouraging way. The people that, you know, couldn't do gymnastics or whatever, go, oh, you're useless, forget it. But even that kind of criticism spurs us on. You know, competition is fun. That's why games, you know, card games, that's why they were invented, to encourage that. And to find ourselves, you know, well, I'm a bit limited, I can't do that, but I'll tell you what I am good at.
Yes.
You know, and it has been taken away. My guide's just saying here, the old adage, necessity is the mother of invention. And our minds, as you say, they work around, you know, you've got this insurmountable problem, but yet we're constructive enough and intelligent enough to, you know, if we can't go around it or underneath it or over it, we'll find a way of shifting it.
And I'm so sorry to interrupt. I wrote that almost exact in the book. Go over it, around it, under it, through it. Find a way. We are capable. And give us the room and the space to just expand all of what is inside of us. You know, we think we're limited, right? Because we have this vehicle, but there is something so pure and powerful inside of the vehicle. Let it out. It will make, oh, it'll make such a positive difference. And I'm with you. I love competition. It helps me grow. I thrive on it because I recognize someone else's brilliance. I recognize someone else's way, the way they think and they move. And it doesn't mean that it always will resonate, but you learn. And as you said, if you're not really great at something, that's okay. But then when you really are, you build this confidence that helps you grow. And then you add more value into the collective community. Pushing us all down and in and making us small is not what we are destined to be experiencing.
Absolutely. Again, my guy's just saying, you know, competition is the tool that sharpens the knives of our brains.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, we've even got that saying, haven't we? You know, a need to keep sharp.
Yeah.
And that enables us. You know, man can be incredibly inventive, but without that competition, without that problem solving intellect that we have, you know, we'd still be pulling tree trunks behind horses to plough fields, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
And now I think, yes, also, as you were saying, you know, some people have a deeper connection to awarenesses of energies and frequencies and destinies, or however you want to look at it, which I think is a challenge for us to get that information out. We are not limited. Let your mind explore everything. Everything is possible. Of course, in a positive way. You don't want people exploring things in a negative way or a hurtful way or anything that's harmful. Use what we have and tap into it. And I write about this, you know, about redesigning the architecture of thought itself, so that you learn this beautiful skill of recalibrating. So like right now, we went through COVID. I have a 17-year-old and it was tough. You know, she lost her junior year. She wasn't on the dive team. She had all AP courses, the study. Today I just came in, I was like, how was school? And she's washing her face and she's like, it was stress. And I got in this stance, like this warrior stance. And I said, you grab that stress by the horns and you wrestle it down, you kick it to the curb and you go have a fabulous day. And
Yeah.
she laughs because she's used to her mom being that way.
Yeah.
But we have that ability. We don't have to sit in that mindset and connect to the stress. And I know there's appropriate times to grieve, to be sad, to be stressful, to have a process to come out of it. But I wrote The Science of Empowerment to quicken that turnaround, because life is short right now for us. If we're lucky, 75 or 105 years, and we move on. So I don't want the human population to drag out what doesn't need to be dragged out. I want them to move through it quicker and find happiness and empowerment and creativity and purpose.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that strikes me is, we're capable of great imagination. And when you see some of the films out there and the books and different things, it's like fantastic. But in another sense, we are really being dumbed down. People stick to the phones, and there's all kinds of gadgets which don't take a lot of thought. It takes 30 days to build a habit, and you can sit there and play Nintendo, and that's your world. And I know we need distractions, but I think it's been taken too far. We're conditioned, aren't we, to this is what we do. I've said many times that I've been in places, and there's a couple that are dating, but they're on a date, but they're texting each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it kills creativity, but it kills speech, and I think the funny thing and the awful thing is you can drift into that and it's normal. You don't notice it. And,
I leave my phone home when we go out. I don't bring it out anymore. Even my kids, I'm like, we're out having dinner, phone, leave it. It's a little bit of a struggle because they are so connected, but I try to give that as an exercise of challenge.
Yeah.
Can you do this? What comes up while you're doing it? Where's the awareness of what do you think you're missing? And it's amazing. I really work with them to get away from that behavior. And it is challenging as a mom of two girls. But I just keep doing it. And I'm like, talk to us.
Yeah.
Use your mind, use your brain, share your thoughts, even if it's for an hour, and then you can go back. But so much of our youth have really lost that ability. And that happened to us. We were at a family gathering and all the kids were sitting at a table, texting each other at the table. And I went in and I took all the phones away and I said, talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great because, again, I mean, texting takes effort, but sometimes, and in your email and that, sometimes you do just need to, even if it's the phone, to speak, because there's a much quicker interaction, isn't it? And the brain's alive. It hasn't got that time to what do I answer and that. I think that as we go ahead, the people will get to a point where they're physically and mentally realizing they're missing an awful lot. It's an exercise in will. It is an exercise in empowerment, in saying, I'm not doing this. I'm actually going to engage with life. There is a theory that whilst we're driving, there's around 60 or 70% we don't see.
Yeah.
And in a sense, that's good because we're concentrating on the road. But, if you ask most people about the journey and what happened, there's an awful lot of it missing. And I think in the same way, we kind of drift through life that way. And we need to stop. What's that phrase? Stop and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
And we need to do that. And I think if people start reading your book and smelling the coffee and, appreciating, the weather and the animal life and the things that are around, that in itself brings so much joy, doesn't it?
And we really need to do that. We do live in a hustle bustle world. We're all hurried and we're all frantic. And so much of the way life used to be, it's shifting on us rapidly. And I just don't want to lose the fundamental knowing, the knowledge, again, for to evolve, to expand. Um, I teach my kids all the time, and I say this: if you see the masses going right, go left.
Mm.
And I really do. I tell them that at least once a week. And sometimes they understand it. My youngest one, we talk, a lot, and she'll get in depth. My oldest one, not so much right now because of her, where she's at in her life. But I tell them, go opposite, be an outlier.
Yeah.
Be outside of the box, think differently, walk and talk different, everything, so that you know what that empowerment feels like. If you join in 24/7, consistently, what kind of life are you going to have? If you step out and create, what kind of life will you have? And I kind of put it, to them in that way, and they do get it. And again, I really try to work that through the weaving and the messaging to seed the brain to, and I do believe there's a difference between this woke movement and being an awakened human being. And really bring the awareness to the ability. And again, I just think how truly amazing and powerful and beautiful we all are, and not to lose that connection to that knowing. And it was just such a driving force. It took me 5 years to write the book, and every single word was very well thought. And the way that I moved through that, that writing, because I just see it every day. And, you kind of, sometimes you just want to shake people and just say, wake up, not join the woke movement, wake up inside yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's great. There's another saying, isn't there, that as you go through life, it speeds up. And certainly when you're very young, summers last forever. And then
Yes.
when you get a bit older, it's like, oh my God, was that 3 years ago? And I think it's important that, we can't lose time and waste time in thinking about it. I think we have to grab life by the throat and say, today, there's another saying, isn't there? Today is the next day of the rest of our lives. And I think we have to grasp that and make the best of it. Because for so many people, it's just putting things off till tomorrow. That'll do, I'll do that then. But some things are so important. And I think that's very apt, that word wake up, or yeah, wake up. Because when you do, it is like coming round from a sleep and you notice so much. It's
And again, that's the difference. Awakening to the morning is very different than all this mass programming messaging that's coming in. Let's just put that aside. Be an individual. Think, and this isn't a selfishness. This is not about thinking of self. This is about recognizing that when you connect to self, you then will expand that compassion naturally out to nature and out to the nature of man and woman, right? If we're trying to fit in, or we're in that sleep state where we're just moving through the pattern, just the quality of life is just not the same as if you are engaging, like you said, that competitive spirit of things, that growing, that learning, that evolving. And I know from our training facility, we saw so many young kids come in and so many parents that were so disconnected to it, because everybody just gets up, you go to work, you go to school, you play sports, you make dinner, you do the laundry, you go to bed, you go on a vacation once a year. And I was just like, what is this? This is not why we are here. there's a reason that we came into these bodies at this time with this ability, as you said, to be innovative, creative, purposeful, on point, awaken to a specific reasoning of why we are here. And I just, I think we all have something to offer. This was my way of offering something into the world. And I'm thrilled, I'm excited, I'm proud, but I'm having such joy connecting to people and collaborating and talking, and then getting our words and our thoughts and our frequency out to the masses. And it'll resonate, it'll seed, right? Like droplets of rain catching the seeds of grass. You know how you look at it and there's little pieces of grass and then big ones, and some spots stay bare, some of the seed takes beautifully. I'm talking about that now because we've been working on the property. And you have to plant the seeds, and you have to water, and you have to work at this awareness to the ability. And that's what I hope the book will do.
I'm sure it will. While you were speaking there, a memory was brought back to me that I used to be a jeweler for about 18 years, designing and making jewelry. And we had a workshop, and every morning I would go down and get a sandwich about 11, get a sandwich and that. And absolutely no thought about it until one morning I found I'd gone to the shop, and I was back in the workshop, partway through the sandwich, thinking, I don't even remember going down and ordering it.
Yeah.
And I don't actually feel hungry. It's like a robot, 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
get sandwich, come back. And it's soul destroying, because it's like you've taken your own choices away.
Yeah.
No, this is when you go for a sandwich, hungry or not. This is what you do, and you eat it. And it's amazing to me that that's come back so strongly.
And we do that
taking our choices away.
Yeah, and we do that in our interactions, in our relationships. We become roboticized in there. We react the same way. We judge the same way. We project. Why didn't you pick up your socks? And then that could turn into a huge argument that could last for weeks. We become, again, this outward kind of acting out of what is not acknowledged within. And I just think it's because we don't teach from a very young age the ability that resides in us. I want to do a pilot program with the book. I wish I could find like a really cool school where they would do a pilot program. So maybe from kindergarten to 5th grade, they would take kids and we would raise them in the environment of the science of empowerment, like say an hour every day, where they have to think and create and be accountable and be resourceful. And then you leave the other kids where they go, and watch the difference when you teach what it is to be an empowered individual, opposed to follow the masses. And there's a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that's great. Again, being a slightly older generation, you'd try something and you'd fall over, you may get hurt, and the advice then was get up. You know what you've done wrong, just go for it again. But the way we tend to think nowadays is, I've done it, I've fallen over, I'm no good at that, I'll try something else, literally to fail at. And it's the whole point that you're making, really. We narrow down our options until it's like, where do you go from there? Nowhere.
Right. And we don't even connect to ownership of our ability. I remember driving a bicycle into the corner of a fender in an old little Volkswagen Beetle that my dad had. My knee was stuck in the fender. My dad came out, he was born in 1910. He was an old Irishman. He was my stepfather. He pulled the knee out of the fender, looked at it, put a little spit, rubbed it, and said, get back on your bike.
Yeah.
I was crying and he loved me. I get back on your bike. I got back on my bike and it was sore. And my mom didn't even know, right? When I came in at night, oh my God. And my dad, Bill, was like, she's fine. Wiped it up, put a Band-Aid on it. I still have the scar, went about my business. That has stayed with me my entire life. You get knocked into a wall, you get knocked down, somebody pushes you out of the way, you recalibrate, you get yourself back in, you figure it out because we have that ability. And so many young kids, our youth, they're I don't know, you just see that taken away from them and it's heartbreaking, and adults too.
Yeah, there's that sad negativity, isn't there? Of
Yes.
you fall over and society goes, yeah, you're no good at that. Try something else, which you may or not be good at either. I think it's wonderful, that we can have that determination. I think it's a Chinese saying, I'm not sure, but it says, it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful philosophy for life, because obviously we can't be good at everything, but we shouldn't give up first time we fall over. It as you've said, it creates robots. It creates people that have no willingness to solve a problem. It's like, someone else will do that.
Yes.
Look
at COVID really quickly, just the energetic of that experience. We thrived through COVID, my family. My husband got out of the restaurant business after 35 years and is skyrocketing. I launched my book at like the worst time. My daughter struggled with the change, but made the National Honor Society.
Wow.
We thrived because I looked at my family and I said, you have two choices. You get pushed down and you stay down, or you get up and you thrive. And that was it. And you guys want to stay down, go ahead. I'm on my way. Yeah. And of course, they weren't going to be like, well, we're going to stay down. They're like, we got to follow mom. And then, but that's, and again, we're taking it in the context of the conversation. There are people that passed away, and there were tragedies, and there were things that were out of their control. I am no way saying, oh, if you got COVID, you just think positive and be fine. We're talking about the ability to not let trying or challenging situations get you down. Use it to lift you up, to move you forward, to advance. You can go on these Google laptop journey, they're like taxi cabs for the universe. You can find out every bit of information. You can build your brain. You can heal your body. You can listen to meditation. There's so many things to do to not be taken advantage of becoming the very best of who you can be, and really working on rounding out the wholeness of being human, I think is an absolute waste of this journey in this lifetime.
I think you're right, and spiritually, we are here to make the best in any situation. And it was strange because while you were talking there, my guide was showing me images of prisoners of war with that absolute dogged determination, being tortured, and that I'm not that easy to kill, and struggling through conditions we cannot comprehend, and coming out of it at the end of it and saying, I defied it, I did my thing, and I've survived. And
wasn't it Mandela?
Yeah.
He said, you cannot imprison my mind.
Absolutely. And again, I can't remember, strangely enough, this came up today, and I can't remember how long he was in prison, but I think it was something like 21 or 25 years. And again, you know, literally they threw away the key and they couldn't break him. And what did he do when he came out? He forgave the man that falsely accused him, and he run the, you know, he run South Africa. And one of the things that really amazes me was at his funeral, so many world leaders were saying, what a man, that's the way to do things, you know, the things that he did, everyone's so complimentary. And I thought at that time, the world is changing. But then the leaders walked away and nothing's changed in their country. They didn't take that inspiration and say, we can do that like him. And whether it's ego or not, people think about me like that, you know, in 10 years. Nothing, just washed away.
I
I
think
think
that's what we, yeah, go ahead.
I think what you've done with your family, you know, through COVID, and just to say, I thrived. What a wonderful endorsement of the book.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing. Sorry, go on.
Yes, no, thank you for that. And you know, it's so funny. A little side thought originally came to me throughout this when people started asking, like, why are you always happy and full of energy? And you know, is your life really like this? And I'm like, of course not. There's I'm a normal, I'm a mom. I work 3 jobs. I mean, I'm a hardworking kid. I take care of everything. I gave up having a child because I fell in love with my husband and he had 2 beautiful little girls. They became my daughters. I raised them.
Mm.
No, but I decided to look at everything from the ability of someone that has mastered life. I am far from it, but I decided to adapt. What would it be like if I were a master at this? If I was a Tibetan monk and I had the wisdom and the insight and the connection to the heavens, how would I handle it? And I really try every day to think in that way. I don't always do it and I falter, but my turnaround is really fast because of this book and what I believe in, and the work that my brother has done and how we teamed up together and his brilliance and how I've learned even from him. And he's my baby brother. Taking in information, insight, wisdom, guidance from others, and building and I wrote this in the book, building an internal living library, collecting information, skills, so that I can pull out what I need at any given time, turn the negativity around, turn a difficult or challenging situation around, and at least neutralize it, if not bring it to a positive frequency. And that's why I want to get out in the world and talk about the book and have people read it and have conversations. I have people now say, like, such as yourself, and we met and they read the book and they're like, would you like to come on and talk? I have 4 or 5 other friends, or I know someone that's a professor in a university or a lecturer. And I think that your mind and her mind, and maybe, and this is what's happening. And it's starting to infuse other people with this feeling of, we can make a difference. We can activate change. It's not always easy, but I am never giving up and I'm going to just stay positive. I'm staying focused and I'm driven to even put a small little seed inside this human condition, to better our understanding of what we're really capable of doing.
Mm. While you're talking there, and again, I agree with everything that you say. My guide's it's like a little domino, and he's got falter, learn, falter, improve, yeah, there's so many sayings coming from years ago. You know, if at first you don't succeed, because that's where human ingenuity is from. And as you say, I think so much of that has been washed away from us. You know, it's being reinforced by people who want control. to not think.
And I love to, I tell my kids all the time, and I quote a lot of things out of my book. I just had a global leader call me the other day. He just finished the book. And the really cool thing are these little bubbles, little takeaways out of the book on some pages. And we got on Zoom and he looked at me and he said, I am willing to own my power. And that's one of the quotes out of my book. And he said, you know, he's very successful and he's done a lot of amazing things. And he said, I read the book and it was, you know, kind of churning up all these things. And I got to this sentence and I was like, wow, it's me, my call. I get to own my power. Nobody can tell me how to own it, when to own it, where to own it. It's mine. And he laid claim to that. And it was just amazing to hear someone that I thought I was going to learn from. And he took something that now is like changing his whole format of how he's going in to his businesses going forward. So I just think learning, growing, expanding, and really just trying to align synergistically with like-minded people, but then also doing our best to open up to the areas or the points of maybe the gray areas where people don't have anyone to talk to, reach out to. They don't have an example of what expansion or advancement looks like. And you know, that's how we get to those people. We just keep working together, introducing things that matter to us. And somewhere there's somebody in a school system that will be like, you know what? I'm going to bring this book in. I'm going to order 20 copies for my class. We're going to read it and we're going to talk about it. You can, even if you change one young person's mind in that class, you have no idea now what they're going to accomplish in their life.
I think that's right. And, you know, something else that's just come to me is, you know, be your own hero. Because so often, you know, we admire someone that's really achieved something and we put them on the pedestal and we kind of go, wow, look at that. And we so many of us are not thinking, I could do that. I could attempt it, you know.
Or be my own, be my own version of whatever that is.
Yeah.
And we can be.
Yeah, we give an awful lot of ourselves away, don't we? You know, and
Too
just
much.
yeah. You know, we kind of we give that admiration and we admire it because it's something wonderful to have achieved. But in that sense, it's like they are special when actually we're all special.
I wrote about that again in the book, that exact same thing. Like, it isn't for someone out there. Greatness is for all of us. You just have to tap into it. And you may not be, and then fill in that blank. I may not find a cure for cancer. I may not be the world's best speaker. I may not be, and whatever it is. But if you move in that direction of that currency of empowerment, you will have positive effect on so many people. So I could be a housewife, but I read a book or I had a conversation with a gentleman and something clicked in my mind. And then I brought that conversation to my family. And then one of my kids brought it to a teacher or another friend. And the ripple effect is so powerful and we forget that.
Yeah, I think we do. You know, you see a lot of videos on YouTube, and there was one that impressed me of this lady. She was homeless, but she was going around collecting food for other homeless people, you know, and she really turned that around. And of course, people watch it and they go, oh, isn't that wonderful? I think, you know, with admiration for that, but not thinking it's a simple thing, you know. You may not have to do it that way, but you can improve other people's lives. And I really think what the book will do is bring those possibilities home to people. We don't, we don't have to create a brand new machine. We don't have to conquer something. We can do it in small pieces, and really it's the building blocks of life, isn't it? If we all work together and put our own little bit there, we all prosper.
And that's what it is. That's all it is. And yes, we have some shakers and movers in the world that are big and magnified, and we see them, big, 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 big. But all behind the scenes, all the way down, all the way to the left and the right, there are so many points of mechanisms in play that matter to the whole. And again, you're right. It could just be one small gesture, and that goes into the currency of the human condition. The universe is made in a way that picks up that frequency. So even a little homeless, beautiful soul somewhere, starting that journey ripples all the way through. And I really do believe that there are reception points of acknowledgement that we don't know in our sensory system, but the universe knows it. And if you can at least ask people to entertain that, how does it look if you knew you would make a difference, even so small, and it would really change the overall environment of the global family? Would you do it? Most people would say absolutely yes.
Yeah, and again, it's small things build into bigger things, and that's how we start when we grow, isn't it? As a child, we learn to stack bricks. I mean, it's useful because of coordination, etc., but in itself, it doesn't mean anything. But what's underlying that is a skill set of manipulation and coordination. And I see what you're doing is very much as that. We're relearning what we've forgotten intrinsically, and
absolutely, that sums it up so beautifully. The beautiful part of this book, it isn't that an author wrote a book to tell you. It's just a regular kid that had a dream to share some wisdom, and now she's just reminding you. That's all it is. I'm just reminding you, because if we were cousins, brothers, sisters, neighbors, friends, we would have this conversation. But because I can't have that relationship to the world, I happen to write a book. But that's all it is. It's to remind you of your power.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. And there are lots of great books out there, and so many people will say, well, books are one thing, I've got my phone. But I think we sometimes forget that the world in a sense is built on books. You go back to the ancient Greeks and that, and biologists and people that are bringing all kinds of books out. The world revolves around that knowledge, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're doing. Where can people buy your book?
Yes, so you can go to the website. It's only sold exclusively on my website right now, and that's www.thescienceofempowerment.com. And if you're in the States, I personally sign, wrap, and mail the book out. And if you are international, then there's a PDF or an ebook download. And there's 2 buttons. It's very easy. You click on PDF or ebook, or again, in the States, the book. It's $30. And the really cool thing is every purchase, whether it's the book, PDF, or ebook, you get a free 30-minute life empowerment coaching session with me on the book.
I think that's wonderful.
Yep.
As you were saying that, my guide, he's got a sense of humour sometimes, and he said, and you know the other thing, you get a free booster for life. You get, you know, it's with every book, get a life kind of thing.
Yeah, that's so
I
cool.
think
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. It's been really, really great speaking to you. I love the energy that you bring and the way that you express yourself. And, you know, nothing sells like enthusiasm. And, you know, there's perhaps not a complimentary kind of saying, but, you know, say sometimes people can sell sand to the Arabs. And that really is their enthusiasm. At the end of the day, it's a buck for them. But I think, you know, when you're enthusiastic and you live your subject, that really comes across. And again, there's nothing better than living and breathing what you know to be true. And I think that in itself is infectious. I've no doubt the book is going to do absolutely brilliantly, and I'm going to get a copy myself, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I'd just like to thank you. It's been wonderful. I love your energy.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I enjoyed this beautiful exchange of energy and thoughts and wisdom and talking to you, and I love it. And I look forward to our next experience together.
Absolutely. So anyone watching this, I will be sometime in the future, I think a couple of months away, be interviewing Laura on my show. It's The Voice of Spirit, kcorradio.com. And I'm really looking forward to that interview as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leo.
Bless you.
Bless you.